Hi, and welcome to CryptoBiography. I'm your host, Brandon Starr. This is episode 242 of CryptoBiography, and it is part 9 of the Isle of Bronze. I'm really enjoying writing this, and I hope you're enjoying listening to it. We do have... we've gone quite a ways into the story, still have a ways to go, and not too much else to say. Let's get to it. And here we go. "Is there anything else you want to see?" he asked Callus, though he also glanced at Theodora out of respect. "How do you refine the ore into tin?" Callus asked. "It's not far from here. Would you like to see it?" "Please." Nasramin had the driver take them to the smelter. Even from outside the open door, the heat was intense. "It's not healthy to go in. Basically, the ore and some other things are put into the fire. It is heated up, and when it's done properly, you get tin." "I see. I don't think I need to see the process up close." "Right. Would you like to see anything else?" the Queen thought. "You didn't take us to the main docks." "I assumed you saw them when you arrived. We could go there, but I'm not sure what else you would see that you haven't already." "It has been a lovely but long day. Perhaps we should get back to our rooms to rest." "And we will make sure you have a fine meal before sleep." "We thank you." They returned, and, a little stiff from a day on the cart, all returned to their own rooms to rest. The meal was indeed fine that night, and everyone seemed to get along. As the days passed, Nasramin felt the tension around Callus and Theodora, and the situation they created ease a little in his chest. Whether this was due to the danger not manifesting as real, or simply because he was getting used to it, it was difficult to say. Though everyone knew they would have only 2 months before Shugo's Unity search, it quickly felt like a sort of second family had been formed. Every day, Shugo and Kama spent time with Theodora, though Asasi mostly ignored their guests. Callus became a perfect guest, if not quite a friend. Mawaya found her engaging and polite, but when he asked her about the Theban queen one night in their bed, Mawaya confessed that she's put up walls, though she decorates them with flowers and sunshine. Callus, as it turned out, enjoyed taking long walks. She had her guards with her when she wanted to be alone. Mawaya simply could not keep up with her, needing to use canes or her chair, though on occasion she rode in the wagon to keep her company. Nasramin also on a couple of occasions took these walks with her when the burdens of kingship allowed a few hours away. On one of these occasions, all of his fears were tested. He and Callus were on a particularly long walk. Just them. Hang on a sec. I'm not sure why. Okay. For some reason, it wasn't allowing me to move the page up and down. Okay. On one of these occasions, all of his fears were tested. He and Callus were on a particularly long walk, just them, 2 of her guards, and 4 of his, as was the rule. It was a breezy day with only a few clouds when they came around a hill near the shore and saw some of the largest, darkest clouds Nasramin had ever seen looming practically overhead. They were afoot, and a good mile away from any sort of shelter. Despite the hill, there wasn't any shelter nearby. Then Nasramin was the first to see it. "Siphon cloud," he yelled, pointing. There was indeed a spinning whirlwind, reaching from the clouds right down to the sea. Then it moved onto the beach and was coming right at them. Nasramin looked around. There was a slight depression nearby. "Everyone lie down in there and hold fast." They did so, everyone grabbing onto each other. There really wasn't anything on the ground to grab a hold of, but everyone took hold of some grass or anything they could lay a hand on. Nasramin knew that avoiding high ground would help them not get hit by lightning. He hoped that this depression would also give them at least some protection from the wind, as well as anything being carried on the wind. But the depression was not deep. They nearly filled it with just their bodies. The siphon cloud galloped at them. It roared in their ears so they could not even hear their own screams. Rocks, debris, branches all bounced along the ground, scraping their backs, occasionally thumping them hard, so their screams were also screams of pain. Their guards were wearing light armor, but they had nothing but their usual clothing. He and Callas were in the middle of the huddle, their guards surrounding them. All of them could feel the wind pulling at them, and they all wanted only that they could stay fixed to the ground. But it was not to be. With a horrible crunch, a large rock smashed the head of one of Callas's guards. Instantly his grip slackened, and he was pulled away by the wind, pulled upright, as though by a horrific puppeteer. Then he was gone. That guard had been the one with the best grip on Callas, so suddenly the wind was pulling at her as well. She was almost off the ground when Nasramin lunged for her, tackling her and tucking her in close. Their combined weight, with the help of the guards, who also grabbed for both of them, kept them tethered to the ground, though just. Nasramin could feel them floating away like a bobber on a high swell. Then the gusts of wind just as suddenly died for a moment, and without the wind they came crashing back to the ground. It knocked the wind out of Nasramin, and Callas too, from the sound of her moan. A shock of pain ran down his side. But he held tightly to her, in case the wind strengthened again. And it did. Soon they were all bobbing. But now the guards all had strong holds on them, and either they would all go up in the air together, or they would stay on the ground. The wind never got so strong that they all got pulled away. Eventually, the siphon cloud passed, and continued its destructive way somewhere across the island he ruled. They picked themselves up. The guard who had been hit by the rock was found, some 20 feet away from them. He had been killed by that rock, despite his leather helmet. "We will come back for him," Nasramin promised. "Are you all right?" Callas nodded, though she seemed to be stunned. "We must keep an eye out. I think those storms can sometimes backtrack. And we will need to get back and see who else needs help. Help Callas along," he instructed her remaining guard and one of his. To his other 2 guards, he instructed one to follow the path of the storm carefully and help anyone who needed immediate help, and then to report to him. To the other, he asked him to go straight to the palace and send help back for Queen Callas. They then set out. The guards helped Callas along. She seemed to have hurt her leg in some way, though it did not seem broken. Nasramin soon found that he was hard-pressed to keep up, as he had fractured at least one rib. But they struggled along. They even managed to get within sight of the palace before help came back for them. They brought the wagon, and everyone got aboard, exhausted. Mersili was among those coming out to help. He walked by the wagon, and Nasramin put his head close to his general's, and said quietly, "We need to find out all the damage done, and see who needs help rebuilding. Also, get our healers to take a good look at Queen Callas. I'll be fine, and they can come to me once they've checked with her. Also, near the beach where the storm landed, one of her guards is there, dead. Make sure his body is found and brought back in honor." "I will see to it all, my king," Mersili said. "Thank you," Nasramin said, and with a groan, relaxed onto some of the cushions, easing the pressure on his ribs as much as he could. And that's the episode for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any comments or questions about this episode or previous episodes, CryptoBiography@gmail.com, or hit us up on Facebook or Twitter. And thank you for listening. Words and music, copyright 2022, CryptoBiography LLC, all rights reserved. Characters and events are fictional, fictionalized, or satirical.